Mike Gibbons, the St. Paul Phantom. Born July 20th, 1897 in St. Paul, Minnesota. He died August 31st, 1956 in St. Paul, Minnesota. He was 5 foot 9 inches and he weighed 145 to 162 and a quarter pounds. I'm Scrapbook Boxing. I would like to discuss Mike Gibbons' career with you. He's an underrated fighter. He once claimed the middleweight championship belt in 1910 when ranchman Walter Dipley shot the reigning middleweight champion, Stanley Ketchel. Mike Gibbons had a younger brother by the name of Tommy Gibbons, who in 1923 would get a shot of a lifetime. He would face the Manasseh Mauler heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey. Let's take a look at Mike Gibbons' career right here on a Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Standing to your right is Mike Gibbons, and to your left is the great Harry Greb. Matter of fact, let's take a look at Harry Greb's career with you. After his 15th professional boxing match, Mike Gibbons, who once claimed the middleweight championship in 1910, when champion Stanley Ketchel was shot by ranchman Walter Dipley. Now as a welterweight and middleweight, he fought fascinating fighters such as Jimmy Clappy, Jeff Smith. He was an outstanding New York fighter who would move to Bayonne, New Jersey, and he was known as the Globetrotter. He'd be in the ring with Bob Moha, the Milwaukee Caveman, Jack Cowell, the Sailor Man. He would face Harry Greb twice. Harry Greb was known as the Pittsburgh Windmill. He'd be in the ring with Packy McFarlane and Eddie McGorty, Leo Florian Hook and Willie K.O. Brennan, Ted Kid Lewis, and Al McCoy. He would face Jack Dillon, who would become the light heavyweight champion of the world. Jack Dillon was known as the Giant Killer. And Jack Dillon would be in the ring with St. Paul's Ray Bronson and Joe Chip, Dick Fitzpatrick, Bob Moha and Eddie McCarthy, Frank Klaus, who was a former middleweight champion. Frank Klaus would lose his title to Joe Chip. George Chip was a fascinating fighter himself. He'd be in the ring with Mike Twin Sullivan and Hugo Kelly, Frank Mantel, who was a former champion, battling Levinsky. Fought him 4 times. And he would fight him for the light heavyweight championship belt. He'd be in the ring with Fireman Jim Flynn and Dan Porky Flynn, Ed Gunboat Smith, Michael Dowd and Billy Misk, Jack Vinton 3 times, Mike Gibbons twice, Ted Kid Lewis 3 times, Al McCoy and Harry Greb. Steve Latto and Jeff Smith and Johnny Wilson. Phenomenal fighters that I am naming to you. And he'd also be in the ring with Willem Brennan Downey. He has a fascinating career. Defeated fighters such as George Slade and Joe Kid Kansas, Jock Malone. Matter of fact, Jock Lamone was the first fighter that Mickey Walker would face when he moved up to the middleweight division. Matt Wells and Joe Chip. Jacob Soldier Barfield. He was from Brooklyn, New York. Soldier Barfield was a fighter. Dave Rosenberg and Jack Britton. Jack Britton would become a welterweight champion of the world. Thomas Silent Martin. Couldn't hear, but knew how to use his hands. Now Harry Greb, his name was Edward Henry Greb. He was known as the Pittsburgh Windmill. He was born June 6, 1894 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He died October 22nd, 1926, Atlantic City, New Jersey. He stood 5 foot 8 inches and weighed 142 to 173 pounds. He was managed by George Eagle. Now, Harry Greb had well over 300 professional fights with just 8 losses. As quiet as it's kept. He fought several fights, close to 100 more. Harry Greb fought 47 fights with one eye. Let's talk about that. Now, Harry Greb was in the ring with Kid Norfolk. An accidental thumbing took place. And from that point on, his vision impaired. But before we get to that particular fight, Harry Greb held the middleweight championship belt from 1923 to 1926. The American light heavyweight championship belt between 1922 and 1923. Now, Greb may have fought over 100 more fights that are on record. He'd be the only fighter to defeat America's light heavyweight champion, Gene Tunney. And Gene Tunney was an outstanding fighter. He was a light heavyweight champion in the AEF, America's Expeditionary Forces. He fought 5 times with Harry Greb. Now, most observers thought that Harry Greb would win 3 out of the 5 fights. But they have Harry Greb only winning 1. Now, Harry Greb fought fighters such as Faye Kaiser more than 7 times. Joe Burrell. Joe Burrell was from New York and he moved to Philadelphia as a kid. Jack Blackburn had wars with Joe Gans and a fighter by the name of Sam Langford. Harry Greb was in the ring with Billy Misk, an outstanding fighter he was. K.O. Baker and Tommy Gibbons fought him 3 times. George Chip, Willie Mean, Mike O'Dowd, and Jack Dillon. Jim Coffey, Bally Levinsky, Bob Moha, Al McCoy, Zulu Kid, Eddie McCarthy, Jacob Soldier Barfield, Ed Gunboat Smith, Harry Anderson, and Leo Florian Hook. He was in the ring with K.O. Bill Brennan and Silent Martin, Mike Mateague and Clay Turner, Jeff Smith, and Joe Cox. He was in the ring with Jimmy Slattery and Maxie Rosenblum, Tommy Loughran and Homer Smith, Chuck Wiggins, Captain Bob Roper fought him 4 times, Soldier Jones and Mickey Walker, Roland Todd, Tiger Flowers 3 times, Allentown Joe Gans, Jack Ronard, and Powell Reed. But August 29, 1921, he would have a no decision fight with Kid Norfolk. Kid Norfolk, one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. He was a color light heavyweight champion. And that's when the accidental thumbing would occur. And can you believe that Harry Greb would fight 47 more fights before 1926, when he would die in a normal procedure for an eye injury. By the way, he would also face Tommy Loughran. Now, Greb would also face Tiger Flowers, fought him 3 times, August 21st, 1924. At Fairmont, Ohio, no decision in 10 rounds. February 26th, New York's Madison Square Garden, 1926. He would lose 15 rounds and lose his middleweight championship strap to the George Deacon. August 19th, 1926, New York's Madison Square Garden. He would have a rematch and lose 15 rounds once again. And that would be his last fight. But he would be in the ring with Faye Kaiser, April 14th, May 13th, 1914. May 21st, June 25th, July 22nd, 1915, September 4th, 1916. He would face Mike Gibbons, February 10th, 1917, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 6-round, no decision. June 23rd, 1919, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 10-round, no decision. He would have 2 no-decision bouts with Mike Milko, 3 victories over Red Cummingson. (1925), he would have 24 bouts, including Mickey Walker, July 2nd, 1925, New York's Madison Square Garden, 15-round victory. Gene Tunney, March 27th, 1925, St. Paul's, Minnesota, 10 rounds, no decision. Johnny Wilson, April 17th, 1925, in Boston, Massachusetts. He would defeat him in 10 rounds. Soldier Buck, June 1st, 1925, Louisville, Kentucky, 10 rounds, no decision. Mickey Walker, June 2nd, 1925, New York's 15-round victory. Maxie Rosenblum, July 16th, Cleveland, Ohio, 10 rounds, no decision. He would have 10 fights in 1924. And this is amazing. January 18th, Johnny Wilson, 15-round victory for the New York State Middleweight Championship belt. January 24th, Faye Kaiser, knock him out in 12 rounds. April 19th, Kid Norfolk, Boston, Massachusetts, 6 rounds, lost on a foul. And from that point, he would have 49 more fights with one eye. Because in that match with Kid Norfolk, there was an accidental thumbing. You see, during those days, you had gloves that had thumbing. You have thumb as gloves today. And that was such a brutal fight that a thumb would slip through the guards of Harry Greb and go right into the eye. And it would detach the retina of Harry Greb. May 12th, 1924, he'd be in the ring with Powell Reed, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He would defeat him in 10 rounds. This is all after Kid Norfolk fight. June 16th, Frank Moody, Waterbury, Connecticut, 6 rounds. Frank Moody would be knocked out. June 26th, Ted Moore, New York's Madison Square Garden, 15-round victory for Harry Greb. August 21st, Tiger Flowers, Freeman, Ohio, no decision in 10 rounds. September 4th, Jimmy Slattery, Buffalo, New York, who would defeat him in 6 rounds in Jimmy Slattery's hometown. September 17th, Gene Tunney, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, defeat him in 10 rounds. October 13th, Tommy Loughran, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 10-round draw. Tiger Flowers, the Georgia Deacon. What a fighter he was. Used to walk into the gymnasium with a Bible in one hand and gym bag in the other. And in the locker room, if he was fortunate enough to see you while changing, he would preach the gospel word. Here you have Harry Greb, Pittsburgh Windmill, 2 of the greatest middleweight champions of all times. Outstanding career these men had. And ironically, they would die together, same year, Same surgical procedure. Eye vision. See, Harry Greb was some fighter. Very aggressive, but at the same time, didn't have much style. But he was all over you. He'd find a way to win. Tiger Flowers was a much taller man. He was a southpaw. And he knew how to handle Harry Greb. You see, Harry Greb had poor vision in one eye, so he couldn't see the left hand coming from that southpaw position. Two great fighters, two unfortunate incidents within the same year of champions who would take the title from one another. Now, Harry Greb would take the title away from Johnny Wilson in 1923. And since then, he had some great fights with some great fighters. Let's take a look into the Harry Greb book. We'll also take out a book featuring Mike Gibbons as well. Now, I just pulled out the Harry Greb scrapbook. Over 2,000 pages, front and back. Here you have Greb takes honor. Easily from Shade. That's Billy Shade. America's light heavyweight champion. Too fast and too rough for Billy in 12 rounds battle in New Jersey. That's in Jersey City. Billy Shade was no match for Harry Greb when the Californian, as you can see here, Harry Greb was basically a windmill. To a fight at the Omni in Jersey City, January 22nd. 12 rounds. Harry Greb and Tommy Loughran, they get it on at New York's Madison Square Garden. But we also have here Harry Greb outpoints Gene Tunney with a light heavyweight championship belt. Now, as I said, this book is full of Harry Greb's career. And as you can see here, this is the fight between Harry Greb and Gene Tunney. As you can see, they fought May 24th, 1922. And Harry Greb would take the title away from Gene Tunney. Now, Gene Tunney has never lost a fight before. He's fought in the military. He was a light heavyweight champion in the AEF, America's Expeditionary Forces. He was on that team, along with a fighter by the name of Bob Martin, who was a heavyweight champion. Now here to show you Bob Martin. Martin in the limelight after stopping Moran. Now Bob knocks out veteran Pittsburgher in 7 rounds. The AEF champion, now in the limelight for a chance at George Carpentier and Jack Dempsey. Now what they're talking about, Frank Moran is to your left, and Bob Martin is to your right. Bob Martin stops Frank Moran. Bob Martin is the AEF heavyweight champion. And he knocks out Frank Moran. Phenomenal. Now, he was the heavyweight champion on that team of the AEF. Leo Johnson was the featherweight champion. Lightweight champion, of the AEF. Here I'm showing you Johnny Wilson and Harry Greb. They fight for the middleweight championship belt. The new middleweight champion, crowned, as Greb defeats Johnny Wilson. Now, this fight took place in 1923. Greb wins middleweight championship belt from Johnny Wilson on a decision in 15 rounds. Pittsburgh boxer too speedy for Johnny in New York's title. Spring Deacon, Tiger Flowers, wins the middleweight championship belt from Harry Greb. And this is in 1926. And I gotta tell you, you're talking about a time when life was rough. You didn't have any cell phones or any electronic magnetics. You did everything with your bare hands. And these are the men they had to contend with. They had to follow fighters. Such as Tom Challenger and George Wilkie, Mike Donovan, Non Perel, Jack Dempsey, George LeBlancy, Bob Fitzsimmons and Tommy Ryan, Kid McCoy, Joe Thomas, Stanley Ketchum, Billy Paskey, Frank Klaus and George Chick, Alan McCoy, Mike O'Dowd, Johnny Wilson, and Harry Greb, that are paid admissions to this title bout. 16,337 fans, and gross receipts totaling $104,569. Harry Greb. I have him ranked number 2 as the greatest fighter on my all-time ranking list. The list of men that I name that Harry Greb fought should be able to tell you why I have him ranked number 2. I have him behind Sam Langford, who was ranked number 1. Can't be disputed in my opinion. Just because fighters he fought and the time in which he came. Ray Robinson I have number 3. Now you can place these men 1, 2, 3, whichever way you would like. It's a personal opinion. And I have Henry Armstrong number 4. They all had great careers. Those are great fighters and great champions. Harry Greb, Mike Gibbons, 2 all-time greats. Thanks for visiting this discussion between Mike Gibbons and Harry Greb, as well as Tiger Flowers. Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Salute to Mike Gibbons and Harry Greb. Salute to my subscribers. Thanks for watching. Right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Salute.